Plumbing. I'm Dustin Cheek, and I've got Chris Kovac here with me, and we're going to go over a couple of things today about common questions about how to choose the right HVAC system for your home and some things that people tend to ask us. So, Chris, you want to introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about you? And what
of course. My name is Chris. I'm with Cheeky Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. I've been here for about 12 years now as a comfort advisor and helping people get better climate control inside their home, also helping with indoor air quality needs and energy efficiency. One of the biggest things that we go through is, a presentation of trying to meet homeowners' needs, and when you're trying to choose the right AC for yourself, and that's what you wanted to discuss today, correct?
Yeah, I think that's things a lot of customers maybe have questions about before they even have somebody come out to their home. So that's kind of what we're going to go through today. So you want to start with maybe kind of the first one that you feel like is kind of the most common question you get a lot of times when you get out to somebody's house about what they need to buy or what they need to put in their home.
Of course, yeah. So I mean, usually sitting down with a homeowner, they usually ask the question, one of the most common questions I get at least is, well, which one would you do for your house, Yep. And it's, that's kind of a hard question to answer because every single person is different. Every single person has different needs. For instance, some people purchase they're living in their house for 20 plus years and they're going to be dragged out of their house, in a body bag, basically.
Yep.
And then there's other people that are like, oh, hey, we're going to be empty nesters next year and we're gone, right?
Yep.
And so you have to kind of pick on whether you're purchasing on return on investment for long-term purchases, or if you're looking at just short-term immediate needs.
Okay, and tell everybody kind of like, what's the first thing you go through and kind of when you do an evaluation on the house, like what are you going to look at? What are some things that maybe they could even look at their own home?
Of course, so I mean, one of the things that I always like to walk around the home with the homeowner and go over areas of interest. Okay. Basically, hey, this is my daughter's room and she complains about it being too hot. Well, this is my son's room and he complains about it being too cold. Or hey, the thermostats in the master and both of my kids freeze during the wintertime. So I usually like to walk around and see, hey, where are the issues inside the home? Also, what can we improve on, right? If you had a magic wand, what would you want,
Yeah, so definitely problem spots, things like that,
Yep.
that maybe caused issues or discomfort. Okay, what about stuff that relates to how do people know if they need a furnace or a gas unit or even like a heat pump or things like that? Because there's a lot of stuff about heat pumps out there right now.
Of course, yeah. So are you talking about like the visual looks of one, like whether you have a heat pump versus having a gas furnace?
Well, like right now, I know there's a lot of stuff with like tax credits and things like that, especially putting in heat pumps, going electric. So what if I've got a gas furnace in my home? Would that even make sense for me?
Well, I mean, there are some incentives from the power companies right now from switching to gas to heat pumps. Typically, gas is, at least in the history, gas has always been cheaper than electricity. So we always like to try to stay with the system that was originally installed, but there are some incentives that might make that necessary, make it more tempting to do so.
Okay, cool. And other things that you look at, so you've kind of gone to look through some problem spots in the home, things like that. What are kind of some other things so people know the right type of system that they might want to buy for their home?
Well, when you're purchasing a system, there's kind of a couple key pieces, right? If you're looking at just getting a system, that's fine. There's several options you can get based on energy efficiency and comfort levels and dehumidification versus humidification. But there's a lot of things that you can add to systems to improve the indoor air quality of the home. For instance, like if someone has COPD or very bad allergies or they're experiencing really high power bills or things along that line.
Okay. And what are some of the things for that? Because like I know some family members and customers I've met over the years, like what are some of the things that can be done? Are those devices or are those things you do during install or how do you solve?
Yeah, so I mean, the number one thing that I see a lot of is, I wouldn't say number one, but I do see a lot of, is people will purchase an extremely high efficient system. Okay. And then they'll put it on a duct system that is leaking 30% of their air. Okay. Right? So it would have been more cost effective for that homeowner to purchase a lesser system and then get the duct system sealed, and they're gaining more energy efficiency that way as opposed to just going with an extremely high efficient system.
Okay, very good. And I think that's actually a perfect lead into one of the questions we had that I think a lot of people ask is, do you really need to replace the ductwork if you're changing the system, or sometimes does it make sense to keep the duct system and just do the equipment?
Great question. I mean, there's kind of two answers to it, right? So some duct systems have the proper insulation or R value and up to code, up to standards. And on those, we typically recommend just basically cleaning and sealing them to gain maximum energy efficiency. If it's a metal duct system, probably needs to be cleaned and sealed. It has nice insulation, but sometimes, you know, the insulation's falling off or it's not up to code, and they can gain maximum energy efficiency by replacing the duct system to get a higher insulation value for their home.
Okay, definitely makes sense. And I know some other things that we do. I don't know if customers ask you those questions a lot, but when it comes to sealing up, if you did keep the duct system, are there things that you could do to make it better or just improve the existing one?
Of course, you know, especially in new construction homes, we see a lot of the time lack of intake air, right? So lack of intake air by adding the proper amount of return air, whether we're replacing the duct system or just adding it to make it better, right? So that's always an option, or just sealing it. We do what's called an aero-seal process, which basically seals all leaks with glue. That's a great option for getting the current duct system sealed. However, getting the proper amount of intake air on the system is key to its functionality.
Okay, and is that something that you guys are measuring, or how do you know whether or not you got the right amount of ductwork?
Yeah, of course, we measure it on every single call. We do static pressure tests on 4 different spots of the system. Also, you can do manual calculations as well, but we like to prove it with manometer gauges and everything, testing static pressure to see what the actual home is designed for and the duct system is operating at.
That was good, so it's verified and it's measured.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, awesome. What are some of the other things that you've heard over the years, or that you run into, kind of common questions people have?
I mean, everyone, you know, common questions would be, you know, why would I spend more money on a higher energy efficient system, right?
Okay, so high SEER rating.
High SEER
versus
rating,
standard.
exactly. High SEER rating versus low SEER rating. But everyone gets fixated on SEER. There are a lot more benefits with the higher SEER rated system other than just energy efficiency.
Okay, and what is a SEER? Like, kind of how should I think of that as a homeowner as far as picking the right one?
Great question. So SEER stands for Seasonal Energy Efficiency Rating. And basically the higher the number, the less it costs you to turn it on and operate it. Okay? Think of it like miles per gallon.
Yep.
Right? It costs you less gas to drive from point A to point B. Same thing, it costs you less energy to turn it on to cool it from 71 to 70.
Okay, very good. But with that, typically goes price point, right? It's, as you go up, it's going to be more expensive.
Correct, and because they gain more energy efficiency by the size of the outdoor units and the size of the indoor coils, so there's more materials used. Also, the multi-stage compressors, all of that stuff that plays into effect in making the system more efficient is also more manufacturing and a little bit harder to install as well.
I got you, cool. And I think something else too we had on the list that, so if I want a higher efficient system, I want to save some money, maybe I'm going to be in the home for a longer time, that makes sense. Are the lower efficiency systems still as good? I mean, do they do as good a job?
Oh yeah, they do. I mean, we don't really have an issue with lower efficient systems. It's just you kind of get what you pay for on that aspect, right? You just want to turn it on and it heat, turn it on and it cools, and you don't want to, you know, invest that much money into it. Then that's always an option that is good for, you know, several people.
Okay.
But not everyone purchases that way, and not everyone's interested in buying that piece of equipment. But we always have those bottom solutions that are still, hey, you still get warranties, you still get, you know, manufacturer's coverage, you still get our labor warranties and all that stuff involved with it.
I mean, you almost know, like, the next question I was going to ask is how important is warranty and support and service when it comes to an HVAC system? You know, we hear a lot of different things with the lengths of time and things of that nature.
I mean, I'd say it's the key piece, you know, I really would, because I mean, anyone out there listening to this has done a heating and air repair knows that basically the minimum heating and air repair is around $500,
Yep.
you know, and then the going up to the maximum heating and air repair can be anywhere between $5,000 and $6,000 just to repair a system.
Yeah, trying to rebuild one, or
Exactly.
if you got a major component failure, things of that nature.
That's correct. And so having a warranty from a manufacturer is good, but having a warranty from the company you're purchasing from is better.
Okay, very
Right?
good.
And because a manufacturer goes, oh, here's the part. And then you go, okay, well, we don't just deliver that part to the homeowner and go, hey, have fun with it, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a common myth that probably a lot of people don't know is that the manufacturers don't pay any of the labor or other charges other than handing you the part, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They hand the part, which we got to drive and get and all that stuff. There are some other things involved in it. But yeah, it's having a system installed properly.